welcome to this new edition of France in Focus. I'm Nadia Sharbi, and this week we're looking into that quintessential French staple, bread. It's cliché but true. This country could not be more serious about sinking its teeth into the perfect loaf. From developing apps that help them locate the best baguette around, to going online to pre-book that fresh out of the oven order. Well, over the last century, French consumers have divided their bread intake by 5, and yet it remains the main ingredient of any French meal. That's perhaps why so many would-be bakers are still drawn to a trade that has long and early hours.
These young bakers are taking part in a national contest. They'll have to make 6 different kinds of bread and pastries. So concentration and passion are both at maximum levels.
I've wanted to do this since I was little. This is what draws me, making people happy.
Waking up in the middle of the night, then spending all day on their feet. That's what being a boulanger or baker entails.
When you live in a family where everyone gets up early in the morning, when you like what you do, it's not a chore. Also when you have a good boss.
When you love what you do, nothing is hard, nothing is complicated. It's even rewarding to look back on what you have achieved.
The whole profession was struggling in the 1990s, but that's no longer the case.
We've been lucky over the past few years because TV shows have highlighted the field. And there's a correlation. A few years ago, pastries were all the rage. And for the past year and a half, it's bread making.
The problem is that there aren't enough businesses around to hire all the young people who want to start. Another problem, though, is that after a few years, lots of them aren't passionate enough and decide to quit.
A source of future bakers, Tunisia. In the northern suburbs of Paris, many Tunisians have taken up the symbol of French culture and gastronomy.
I come from a city called Matmata in the south of Tunisia, and bread is a specialty there. We took over the market in Tunisia, Libya, and maybe soon France, right? That's what we do.
This bakery in the north of Paris is also owned by a Tunisian family.
Back home in Tunisia, in Matmata, we're known for bread. It's like people from Auvergne in Paris, they're known for bistros and cafes and hotels. It's a tough business, but you make a good living.
Every year, boulangeries in France sell 10 billion baguettes and other types of bread.
Well, did you know that every year one Parisian bakery is awarded the coveted title of Best Baguette? And I'm joined now by this year's winner, Semi Wettel. Hello, thank you for being with us. How do you win this prize of Best Baguette?
The jury said I won because of the quality of my baking. My baguette was truly cooked to perfection. They had to be ready 2 to 3 hours before the judging began, but mine still tasted crisp and fresh.
And what makes the criteria for the perfect baguette? Are they always the same, or are there fashions in baguette making?
The criteria are very strict. The baguette had to be between 55 and 60 centimeters long and weigh between 250 and 300 grams. Everything else is up to the baker.
Now, you'll now be supplying the Élysée Palace, and you're starting your Élysée mandate at the same time as the new president. Is that making it extra special for you?
Absolutely. We're very similar. He hasn't been in politics long, and I've only been a baker for the past 7 years, pretty much like him. So us both coming out on top is great. This is a good comparison.
And is industrialised bread a threat to your trade?
Not to me, but to unskilled bakers, yes. I don't compare myself to the industrial baguette. It's true, they have massive resources. Their adverts say, with us, it's done with care, our own baker gets up at 4:30 in the morning, etc., etc. They have to stop cheating people with this rubbish. That's not what happens at all. I go to the big stores to look at their baguettes, and they've nothing in common with those that are traditionally made. I fight this battle every day.
Salut Boitour, thank you very much for having spoken to us. Merci.
Merci à vous.
So you think you know bread? Well, sometimes even for the most seasoned dough lover, it's hard to distinguish between a traditional and an industrial loaf. In fact, the difference is clearly visible once you get your hands on the list of ingredients. Take a look.
You might not expect to find real bakers in a supermarket, but there they are, kneading dough and setting out fresh bread.
Voilà, par exemple, celle-ci, c'est une farine.
So this flour is for making bread with seeds in it. See, all the seeds are mixed through.
C'est les meuniers en amont
To save time, it comes pre-mixed.
avec les céréales directement.
But what many shoppers don't realize is that the standardized flour contains additives meant to make the bread look nicer. Two of the most common are amylase, a protein that helps bread rise more quickly, and ascorbic acid, or vitamin C.
Vous avez un pain qui est obtenu
So this bread was made with a mix of flours with nothing added,
de correction apportée. Ici, vous avez
and this
un pain
one had vitamin C added, which gives it a nicer look.
de vitamine C, ce qui permet d'obtenir une forme plus jolie.
If you don't add anything to the flour, you get bread that doesn't look the way consumers expect it to.
Sur l'aspect, ne correspondent pas aux attentes du consommateur.
Some artisan bakers use standardized flour as well, but they don't like to talk about it.
And here I have all the things I'm going to mix in. Nuts, butter, I have eggs.
But he also uses an industrial preparation, a recipe that gets sent to many different boulangeries. These standardized flours are legal, and nothing forces bakers to list their ingredients, leaving lots of consumers chewing in the dark.
Les améliorants que l'on ajoute à la farine ne sont pas dangereux en
The
eux-mêmes.
additives, in and of themselves, aren't dangerous, but they lead your body to process the bread too quickly. And sometimes that's poorly tolerated and can lead to hyperglycemia 3 hours later, which means the bread is less filling, and so you end up eating more of it, and so you gain weight.
Et plus de prise de poids.
There is a solution if you don't want to ingest additives. Bread labeled tradition is protected by law. The recipe is allowed to contain only pure flour, water, salt, and yeast.
Well, of course, the French reputation for good bread making extends well beyond its borders. A number of chains and individual bakers have been exporting their know-how and educating the world's taste buds one warm loaf at a time.
Fans of French baguettes and pastries in the US are discovering a new place to spend their dough, courtesy of boulanger Eric Kaiser. The Frenchman has already opened 11 shops in New York City, and he doesn't intend to stop there. His shops, which display intricately crafted desserts and breads, are positioned to take advantage of America's growing demand for better food.
I think the difference between us and the competition is that we're truly artisanal. So in each shop we have a bakery in the back. It allows us to train a lot of skilled chefs.
A French savoir-faire that customers appreciate.
I just feel like the product here is more elevated and it has a better presentation too, especially when we're using them for client meetings or things that we want to impress people with.
The pastries are fantastic, and after traveling to France and other parts of the world, it's really fun to come in here and have people talking French, and it's a different culture.
French entrepreneurs have decided to take the same gamble in India. With his French bakery L'Opéra, Laura Samandari has brought authentic and high-end French pastries and bread to the heart of the Indian capital.
The majority of our clientele is Indian. And here we really tried to recreate the atmosphere of a French bistrot or bakery, like those one can find in Paris.
According to the owner, he's able to replicate French quality by importing most of the core ingredients, like chocolate and cream, but also flour and butter.
I buy a lot of bread for my home and desserts. My daughter loves the macaroons from here.
French bakers are also taking on the African market. Here in Abidjan, Jean-Claude has become a local star, the baguette whisperer.
If I take this French baguette, listen, it's crisp. That's what makes French baguette so good.
Today, more than 1,000 customers visit his bakery every day, a growing demand that spells out a great success for Jean-Claude's bakeries in Africa.
So we're leaving this edition. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.